Hello. Hi, everybody. Welcome in. Oh, my hair is doing a weird thing right there. How is everybody doing tonight? I am back with another stream. For those of you who are new here or have not joined me for a live yet, or you just need a refresher, hi, hello. This is our twice weekly live stream that we do here on my channel, The Haunting Hour, and we just talk about all things spooky, haunted, paranormal. And this is now our sixth one, our third week of doing 2 live streams a week. We do it every Monday and Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you can either, hello, Melissa, you can either join in live and hang out and chat in the chat. Or if you want to, these episodes will always, oh, I just got a text. I will respond to that later. Distracted. um, if you are watching this in the recap or you can't make it to a stream or you can only make it to part of a stream, all of the live streams that I do are on my live tab on my channel. So you can tune in there and watch this after the fact whenever it so pleases you. So that is kind of a little the housekeeping for the beginning of the stream. And without further ado, tonight's stories are some of the most disturbing paranormal encounters out there because they don't just come from investigators or psychics or ghost hunters, they come from kids. Children who describe people no one else can see, children who know things that they shouldn't know, and children who casually say things that make their parents freeze in place and think, how could you possibly know that? These are real stories pulled from Reddit forums and parents sharing their moments that still haunt them years later. And whether you believe kids are more sensitive to the paranormal or you think there's a logical explanation, I promise you, some of these are going to crawl under your skin because they definitely did for me when I was doing my research on this video. If you've ever heard a child say something that made your blood run cold, drop it in the chat or in the comment section if you're watching this live or in the recap, because tonight on the Haunting Hour, we're talking about kids who saw things that adults couldn't. So I hope you guys are ready for this. I'm super excited. This truly did give me chills as I was gathering the stories for this video. I was reading through everything and I'm like, oh my God. I've always known that children are more susceptible to the paranormal than adults, as well as pets, babies. They all can see and sense things that are a little bit harder for us. And I'm not sure exactly why that is. There's kind of some stories that touch on tonight how when these kids are experiencing these things as they get older, they start to forget or they aren't able to communicate in the way that they were with these things that would come to them when they were little. So it's interesting how like when we grow older, we might outgrow these abilities, or at least for the majority of these cases. My cousin would wave at the air and say, "Hi, Grandma," and she was about 2 years old. See, there's a few stories like that tonight, and it just gives me the chills, like in the best way, especially in cases like that, because it's almost heartwarming, specifically when it has to do with passed on loved ones. It's like, okay, if your child is saying hello to grandmother or grandfather, it's like, wow, okay, like so maybe there is actually something there, and my loved one is watching over me, and they're here still. It's comforting and in a sense. So even though some of these stories are chilling, there's also like a heartwarming aspect to some of them. So without further ado, words, let's get right in to today's stories. So for this first story, I will read it exactly how I'm going to read all of these stories exactly how they're shared because they're not my stories, they are these people's. So the other day, my 3-year-old son was sitting at the dining room table at dinner, blinking his eyes really fast. I asked what he was doing, and he responded, totally straight-faced and unbothered, "I am looking at the man who walked into the kitchen. When I blink my eyes like this, I can see him standing behind Mommy." "You can see him standing behind Mommy. What's he look like? What's he doing?" I asked. He's all black and has no face. He's just standing there watching mommy. Sometimes I see him walking around the house, but he never looks at me. We live in a very old house and know the original owner. The man who built the house died there in the 50s. We've always talked about a ghost in the house, but weren't totally serious. My son's comment made the hair stand up on my neck. I'm sorry. Even though that sounds like it's a little bit heartwarming, with the fact, it was like previous owner, and maybe the previous owner is just trying to like see how things are going in his house, looking over things still from the afterlife. Um, there's something really scary about a 3-year-old child just like looking at you, being like, there's a man with no face looking at you, mommy. What do you mean? What do you actually mean? Let's go to the second story. My dad died when I was 13, and I'm now 41. I showed my 6-year-old a picture of him, and he said, "Oh, I met him before I was born." He told me his name was Gramps. My dad has always told me he wanted to be a Gramps, since that is what his dad, who died when I was 18 months, wanted to be called. I never told my son this, not once. Again, here is the whole thing about, like, kids knowing things that they shouldn't know, and not like a bad way, like, they shouldn't know this, but they just shouldn't know it, like, there was no reason for this 6-year-old to know that his deceased grandfather was supposed to be Gramps one day, because their dad never told him this, you know? So, I don't know, it's chilling. Next story. I used to tell my mom things until I was about 5. She would quiz me on people who died from our family before I was born. My favorite was her funny, weird uncle, and she said, "What was weird about him?" And I said, "He didn't have a belly button." He didn't. There was some accident that the scar revision basically got rid of his belly button, but none of my older siblings knew about that to have told me. In fact, my mom had never told anyone that. My child now used to tell us about where she was before. So now kind of switching gears in the story. So this woman, that was her experience when she was 5 and what she would tell her mom. Now she has a child. And she goes to say this. My child now used to tell us where she was before, in the stars. And when she was 2, she refused to let us talk about her birth or do a birthday because she remembered it. And we almost lost her and me. She was early, and it was an emergency that day. Things were very scary, and we were both dying. She was suffering as she was trying to come out, and she remembered that. And then she finishes the story by saying, "I love my magic baby girl from the stars," which is such a terrifying, not terrifying, what's the word? Tragic, which is such a tragic tale and like tragic details, but also, I mean, just like how it ended, like her baby girl from the stars. Like, that's beautiful at the same time. Chills, yeah, I agree, Melissa, absolutely chilling. The next story. Not my kid, but my niece. Disclaimer that I'm an ardent skeptic that believes essentially nothing metaphysical, but I have nothing for this one. She was almost 5 and living with my sister in an apartment complex. Not long after they moved in, along with alleged weird noises and shit like TVs allegedly turning on and off on their own, my niece began going into my sister's room at night, terrified because of the man in her room. First time it happened, my sister freaked out, thinking someone was in the house, but then it became a regular thing. When asked more about it, my niece said the man would swear at her and tell her she needed to get out because she didn't belong there. Then my sister met a neighbor at the complex's playground and found out that the person who lived there a year or so before was a single dad who overdosed in the apartment. His young son, whose room was the next room over, now my niece's, found him. It was a whole thing. So my mom, who believes in all of this, had my sister dig around and try to find his name, which they did, and they tracked down his obituary. So we were at my mom's house and they left his picture up on the computer screen and called my niece into the room. Without anyone saying a word, not about their place or the man or anything, not a word, my niece immediately recognized that man's face and ran out screaming about the man in her room. We moved them out not too long after because it just kept happening and They didn't know what to do. Like I said, I am an extreme skeptic of anything of that nature, but with the totality of the story and how absolutely certain my niece was that it was the man in her room on the screen, I have no way to explain it. And what was interesting about that particular story that I was reading on the forum, there was replies to it, and there was quite a few people who also jumped in saying, "I'm a huge skeptic too. I don't believe in any of this stuff." That were also saying, "I don't have any explanation for this, even though I'm a skeptic." They didn't necessarily agree, like, "Oh, this is definitely paranormal." Just like this person never straight out said, "This is paranormal." But what they were saying is, here's all these skeptics talking about this person's story of a skeptic and their skeptics and their opinions on it, and they have no explanation for it. And I love that. That is my favorite thing ever is when there's a skeptic or whether it's like a hardcore skeptic who does not believe, or maybe they're just like they're open-minded but leaning skeptic. I love when I can like show them something or tell them a story and they don't have any explanation for it. That is my favorite thing ever. I'm just like, yeah, see, this is what I'm talking about. Anyways, I thought that was interesting. Next story. This one is a short one. Also, trigger warning. There are a couple stories in here that have to do with like uh, infant loss, child loss, things like that. So if that triggers you, maybe sign out now, or um, they're not the rest of the stories I'm going to tell, but they do pop up. The next one is a short one, but that's all it's about. So again, if that triggers you, I don't want to upset anyone. So fair warning. Okay, so the next story. My wife had 2 miscarriages before our daughter, and when my child was about 4, um, she asked me something about being born and was like, "Well, it took me 3 tries to get here." Me nor my wife ever told her about my any miscarriages, and that's the end of that story, and I think that's super chilling. Next story is also kind of short as well, about the same length. My husband died, and our son was 3 at the time. A few months after losing him, my son went to run off to get something and stopped after 2 steps. Ran back, grabbed my shirt to pull my face down, and whispered in my ear, "Daddy says you're very beautiful." And that broke my heart. Oh man, that one. I mean, all of these, honestly, but that one was so sad. Next story. When my first son was 5, he began to say he wanted to see the cactus randomly one day. We had booked a cruise not long after that, and on about the third day, after breakfast, he started walking in a determined fashion towards a spot about 100 yards away that was basically empty space that was transitioning to something else. It looked like an older eating area. He rounded a corner and exclaimed, "There's my cactus!" And there, hidden next to a window, was a lone cactus on the floor, forgotten by staff long ago. This will be the most random paranormal activity I'll ever witness. I thought this one was interesting. I wasn't sure if I was going to include it into the video or not, but there's something weird about it. I don't really know how it's paranormal or if it's more like a psychic-y thing. Because what's the importance of this cactus? I I mean, I know that they have like a long life and they obviously I actually don't know how they die because they usually are in like warm places like the desert, so they probably can go wild without water. I don't know anything about cactus care, but that doesn't seem super paranormal to me personally. I don't know how it would be, but again, it seems psychic-y. Like, how did that kid know about a cactus? Why was he looking for a cactus? I have questions. Moving on to the next story. According to a story my mom has told me many times over the decades, when I was barely 4, she was reading me a bedtime story from Tales from India or some similar book. I looked at her very seriously and said, "When we lived in India, I was your father." She looked at me with wide eyes and said, "When we lived in India?" And I said, "Yes." Now, my parents believe in reincarnation in part because of lots of stories like this, but this hit deeper because when she was little, her family had lived in India for 2 years, and her dad died when she was 18, nearly 20 years before I was born. Again, knowing things that they shouldn't know, how would they know that, especially at such a young age, and be able to just like come out like right off the noggin and say that. Crazy. Next story. Our son would talk about our paranormal resident named Bobby. He'd follow Bobby and point at him and talk to him. After he hit about 4, he stopped seeing him. Our daughter, who is our youngest, not knowing this story, also began seeing Bobby as well and doing similar things like pointing and following and talking. From what we've gathered, if there is a ghost named Bobby here, he's kept a watchful, caring eye on our kiddos. They were always happy and excited about him, never scared. So we figured if this Bobby does exist, then they are caring and friendly. We like to think it's my wife's late uncle Bobby checking in on us. He was killed in a motorcycle accident. He was always a caring, cheerful, and kind person and a bit of a goofball. He loved his grandkids and his grandnieces and nephews. If he became a ghost, he would totally watch over them and love them and mess with us. LOL. And that is beautiful. I love that story. I feel like that is exactly kind of what you want, especially when it comes to your family that has passed on being around you and watching over you. Like, you want things like that. You want friendly spirits that are gonna look out for your family, especially your little ones. And I think it's interesting. I mentioned this at the very beginning of this stream, but how you start when you're younger, you have like paranormal experiences, and then when you reach a certain age, it's almost like it stops happening or isn't happening as frequently. And so this story was like a perfect example of that because as soon as the kid turned 4, he stopped seeing Bobby. But then when the youngest daughter is growing up till 4, she's seeing Bobby. So I thought that was interesting. Hi, Jennifer. Welcome in. Yeah. Moving on to the next story. When my son was around 4, his mom and I bought an old ranch home on 800 plus acres. The house was about 90 years old, but the foundation had been there for like 160. After being there for about 6 months, my son started talking about the brown man. Said he'd see him outside his window all the time. Occasionally, we'd go into his room and he'd be staring out the window, smiling and giggling. And he'd say it was the brown man making him laugh. His mom and I grew concerned, especially me, as I do believe in the paranormal. Started asking questions. I asked my son if the brown man ever came inside the house. He said he is not allowed because it's our house now. After about a year, my son stopped talking about him and seeing him. Asked him what happened to the brown man. Son said, he went back to the woods to sleep. I can only assume it was a former homeowner that was buried somewhere on the property, and he just came to check out the new family and make sure we were worthy of his house. To add, my son is 14 now and fully remembers the brown man. We've talked about it several times. He says there 100% was a man dressed in brown at our old house that he used to interact with. He remembers never being scared, even a little, and the man would make funny faces that made him laugh, and he seemed really nice. 800 plus acres that backed up to a state park. There wasn't a neighbor within a couple miles. I suppose there could have been an old man squatting or camping on my property, but I spent dumb amounts of time on that land in those woods. I think I would have noticed some sign of someone being there, but who knows? Now, that's kind of like a conflicting story because the last story that we had just mentioned was this kid up till about 4 would see this Bobby paranormal ghost resident, and after that stopped seeing him. But this kid remembered it. Like, he saw him, and then to this day he can rattle it back, be like, yeah, I saw him, he made me laugh, this is what he looked like, he was always wearing brown, all this stuff. And yeah, I don't know, I just think it's fascinating. Next story. Let me just, okay, there we go. When my son was 3 or 4, we were walking outside one night having a casual conversation, and he turned to me and said, I had a son, but he died. I asked him how, and in the same calm tone, he told me the other kids didn't wait for him in the street going to the bus and he died. He started tearing up. It was so genuine, it gave me the chills. Now, that story particularly, like, there's I'm trying to remember the exact details, but there's a story of this kid that remembered his past life, and, he was, like, on the news. I think it was somewhere in Scotland, but he remembered his life in excruciating detail. He was, like, 2 or 3 years old, and he would tell his family all about his life, and I think his family started to, like, do research into it, and everything he was saying, like, specific eerie details was all lining up. It was like a whole thing. Um, but it kinda reminds me of that, and it's things like that that's like, okay. I don't even know if that's not, is that paranormal? Would you say that's paranormal, or just, like, reliving or remembering past lives, and that's kind of a reincarnation type situation? Could be paranormal, I guess, if you think about it. It's a spiritual thing, metaphysical. I don't know. But I don't know, there's also something. Fun fact. I'm gonna divert from the stories for a brief second. We still have a few more to go, but because we're on the topic of reincarnation, I kinda wanna give my 2 cents on it. I think it makes a lot of sense. Um, like, I mean, obviously, with everything I believe in, with the paranormal, I believe in spirits. I've seen them, I've talked to them. So, reincarnation makes sense to me because, okay, like, instead of your soul just kind of either passing on into the afterlife, or not afterlife, like into heaven or something of that sort. It could be lingering in its favorite places, or in your resting place, or what have you. But it also could transition to something else. But there seems to be like a lot of random proof, I'll put quotes around that, random, proof of reincarnation in situations like this and other more specific circumstances. That's like, how are some people remembering their past lives? I've also had readings from psychic mediums, that have told me about my past life. Fun fact, I'll tell you guys a little bit about one of my past lives, my most recent past life. Um, if I'm remembering correctly, it was in the 70s. I was born in 1995. So I don't know what happened in between the 70s when I passed and 1995. But apparently, my most recent past life was in, I passed in the 70s. I was a lawyer, and I was on someone's bad side, like some sort of mob or gang type situation. This is honestly pretty dramatic past life, if I do say so myself. But apparently, I was on a bad side. I think I locked up or like convicted someone who was part of a mob or a gang of their crime. They went to jail, and then I was hunted and killed. So then that's how my last life ended, and I came back as me. So I don't know what that says about this as a person in my past life. Um, but I also don't know. I just assumed I was a woman, but honestly, I could have been a man because I don't know. I wasn't told what gender I was. I just know I was a lawyer and I was killed by a mob. So that's kind of fun. Well, it's fun to think about now. Not fun if that's actually. Anyways, you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. Anyways, so I've had readings, and I've been told that I have had past lives. Um, and obviously there's other proof, and other people have experiences being told about their past life, etc. The thing about past lives, or like, I guess it's not, I guess past lives don't really bother me. It's the thought of reincarnation kind of freaks me out. You know what? We're getting pretty deep. Yeah, past lives are definitely super super fascinating. Um, but what was I saying? Right. Okay, we're getting deep right now. So I and this might also have to do with, like, my interest and fascination in the paranormal as well, and, like, why I'm so desperately, like, out here trying to, like, talk to the dead and, like, get answers and stuff. I've always been someone who's been terrified of death. I still am. I can't think about the concept of, like, me or, like, my loved ones dying too much, otherwise I will have a panic attack. I think that's a very common fear, but, like, sometimes, I don't know, I have, like, OCD, so, like, sometimes I get, like, really in my head about it, so I can't think about it too long. So, I don't know if that's, like, partly why I'm so fascinated and entranced with the paranormal, because I want to have, a peaceful idea in my brain of, like, eventually, in a long, 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 long time, this is what's gonna happen, and, like, everything's gonna be good and all this stuff, right? I think it's like a calming thing. I don't know. That's something for my psychiatrist one day. Um, but, uh, with reincarnation, something that has always freaked me out about that idea is I like my life, like, a lot, and, like, my family and my friends, my loved ones, my husband, all this stuff. The idea that, like, when I pass on one day, that I start a new life and don't remember any of this, I hate. I hate that. Um, so that's the only reason I don't like the idea of reincarnation. Um, but it seems like it's a thing. I'm just hoping, like, maybe this is my last life, and then after this, I get to reunite with my family. We're getting really deep and really sad right now. Anyways, moving on. That was your little tidbit of Krista and her deep internal thoughts. Moving on to the next story. This one's kind of short too. So, this one also comes from the same forum. This person says this: nighttime, the lights are off, no shadows. 2.5-year-old says, "Daddy, what are those cracks in the ceiling? And what's inside of them?" We actually have good ceilings, so no cracks. I say, "There aren't any cracks, honey. The ceilings look good." And my child says back, "Daddy, there are cracks, and there is something inside that is coming out." Falls asleep immediately after. I don't know about you guys, but if that happened to me, I would, mm, be saging. I would be probably sleeping in a hotel for the night. "What do you mean that you're seeing cracks in the ceiling and something crawling out of them?" Crazy. Next story. My eldest, back when she was about 3, was having night terrors. This was going on a while, and my wife and I had tried everything. One night, we've woken up by laughing instead of crying. I go to my daughter's room and ask what's going on. She responds with, "Gaga is telling me jokes and making funny faces." Gaga being my dad, who died about a decade before she was born. To this day, I catch her talking when no one's in the room, but now all she says is, "I wasn't," etc. Don't believe in this stuff myself, but damn, that one threw me for a bit. LOL. Again, going back to things that kids shouldn't know. What do you mean your child is sitting there laughing, talking to a deceased loved one, saying their nickname, what they would have liked to be called when they became a grandparent or whatever, Gramps from the earlier story, Gaga from this story, like that, especially Gaga. Gramps, if the child knew that they had a grandfather or grandpa that passed before they were born, I could maybe see them making that in their head, but why would the in this case, calling saying that Gaga is telling you jokes, and that is what their dad wanted to be called, that's a bit more specific. That one's a bit more weird to me. So, I don't know about that one. Next story. I don't think it was my kid talking, but it was my kid's voice. My kid was 3 and while talking was definitely still in that toddler babbling phase. We had just moved into a new two-story house. I was unpacking and my kid was playing in their bedroom. At least I thought they were. While unpacking with only my kid and I in the house, I heard clearly and loudly in their voice from one of the front bedrooms, "Hey dad, come to the guest bedroom. I want to show you something." This got my attention because they had never said anything so clearly before, and because they didn't know I intended for the second front bedroom to be a guest room. I stopped unpacking and went to the guest bedroom just in time to see my kids' feet sliding out of the window in the room. I jumped across the room and caught them by their shoe. I pulled them back inside and they started crying. When they calmed down, I asked what they wanted to show me, and they basically said that they had no idea what I was talking about in toddler voice and words. What When I first read this story, I thought I was like, "Oh my god, this is a mimic." And it still gives mimic, but at the same time, it gives guardian angel, which is contradictory, because obviously you go in there and this kid isn't trying to walk out of the window, gonna fall and hurt themselves or worse. And so it was like a warning to get this person to go to the guest bedroom, but why was it taking the form of the child's voice? That's weird to me. If it was a guardian angel or a spirit that was looking out for them, whatever the case may be, it would just be in that voice, like, of whoever. But why did it have to take on the form of the child? That's what I don't understand. Anyways, I like that story, but I also don't like it. I'm conflicted. Next story. I was in the kitchen of my previous home with my then very young daughter and saw a large shadow pass by to my front left. The only issue is the window the light came from was very high up over my front door, under a decently sized awning, so it didn't make any sense for something that large to cast such a big shadow. I turned to my daughter who was standing a little bit away from me who was looking at it when it happened and asked her, "What did you see?" She pointed up to a picture of my grandmother who had passed shortly before, and all the hairs on my arm stood up. I still to this day occasionally think about it and rationalizing why my 1.5-year-old would randomly point to a picture of my since passed grandmother, who she only met like once or twice before. And also, side note, this is not in the story, but she's 1.5 years old. I'm sorry. I I have, I think, one memory from when I was 1.5 years old, and it's a split second, and that's it. I think I was 1.5. I lied. I think I was 2.5. Still very young, very split second. When you're that young, you're not and I was gonna say, when you're that young, you're not really, like, a conscious being. I mean, you are obviously, but, like, you don't really remember things from that young. And if they are, they're like little blips. At least that's for me, and that's for everyone that I've ever spoken to. I don't know, let me know in the chat or in the comments, or send me a message if you don't wanna say it on here. Um, but I would love to know if anyone has experiences from, like, when they're really, really young, like, I'm talking under 3, let me know, and, like, how much you remember from being that young. Because I I just the only reason I mention this is because in that story, obviously, she said the daughter's 1.5 years old, grandmother has since passed. I don't even think that that child would really recognize what the grandmother like, who the grandmother was, like, and wouldn't be able to make sense of it until later in life when they're a bit older, and it's like, "Oh, that was my grandmother. She passed when I was, like, a baby," you know? I don't really remember her, that kind of thing. So, I don't know. That's just my 2 cents on it. But if you remember things from when you were that little, please let me know. I don't have any, so those are all the stories from the forums. I'll kinda talk a little bit about my paranormal experiences as a child now, because we have a little bit left in, in the stream for tonight. Also, if you have any experiences from when you were a child, or if you have had any experiences with children telling you really creepy things, drop it in the chat. We'll go over it if you have any. Otherwise, leave it in the comment section of this live and then I'll read it later. But uh, well, first and foremost, what I will say is my memories kind of start when I was around, I'll say 5 is, like, the youngest I'll give for my youngest memories. I have a few from when I was, like, 4-ish, and my youngest, I was just about to turn 3. I was probably, like, 2 and a half ish. And the only reason I know I was that young was because my brother was born, just before my 3rd birthday, and I remember very briefly my mom being pregnant with my brother. It's like a very, and it's not like a home video or anything, I remember it from my eyes. I just remember seeing my mom pregnant with my brother. So that's, like, the only memory I have. So I would have been around 2 and a half ish years old. Comes in, it's like a quick little moment. I think it was in his nursery, and then that's gone. That's all I remember from it. And then going 4 or 5 years old, I pretty much remember daily life. I was sentient at that point. But my first recollection of paranormal experiences, like, started happening when I was 4, 5-ish, but they weren't anything crazy. I just kind of knew that spirits were around, um, and I didn't really understand the concept of them. I just knew that there was something there. But my first paranormal experiences where I was like, "Okay, this that I know what a ghost is now. I know that this is not normal, and I'm also, like, a fully conscious being." It was like I was probably around, like, 7-ish, and that's when we moved into my like, family home that I grew up in. Well, I grew up in my other home too, but you know what I mean. Uh, the house that I have talked about numerous times being haunted, um, my family still lives in that house. It's still haunted, but, I grew up in that house. It was a thing, but like I always say, whenever I talk about my haunted house that I grew up in, I always clarify it was never anything like The Conjuring or anything like that, but it was pretty creepy, especially as, like, a child. Um, the basement in particular always creeped me out, and it was a finished basement. It was nice, like, we had, like, a little entertainment section down there, toys, like, I would go down there and hang out. Like, it wasn't, like, a scary place, but there would just be times, like, I'd get this whole wash over me of something doesn't feel right, like, I'm being watched by something that's, like, not my family. Um, I the I remember specifically it felt like a woman, and it was a very daunting energy, and again, mostly happened in the basement. Sometimes the experiences kind of went upstairs, but that's kind of where it loomed. Our cats never really loved to go in the basement. One of them would come down and hang out with me if I was down there, but I really had to kind of bring her down there. The other one never would. I don't like basements at all either. They're not my favorite. Like, some are okay, like, if they're like a walkout basement, I feel like it's a little bit better. This wasn't a walkout basement. Um, but like I said, it was a finished basement. But it was there was and it wasn't all the time. It was just sometimes, like, you'd get this sensation over you. There would be weird sounds down there that didn't make any sense, like, not house settling noises, like, it'd be like footsteps or, like, you would feel watched. But I always got this sense that there was a woman down there. One of my cats did not like to go down there at all. If I brought her down, she would, like, run right back upstairs. So that's also another thing. This whole stream was about kids and, like, their sensing of spirits, but like I mentioned at the beginning, pets always have that too. Hello, Mary. No worries. Thank you for popping in. The stream will be available for replay later on. Yeah, once the stream ends, it will be on the live tab, so you can always catch up and see the stories that you missed. But we just kind of covered all of these. Well, not all of these. We covered stories on forums from people who had experiences with children having paranormal experiences, saying or knowing things that they shouldn't know, but, like, were tied to the paranormal. So, we learned about some creepy stories tonight. Now I'm just kind of covering my experiences growing up as a child, and the things that I sensed. But yeah, and kind of going back a little bit, I'm going to touch on this and try to like paint it a little bit clearer because I feel like I've talked about this a bunch of times. Um, Whenever anyone asks like what my first paranormal experience is, it's so hard for me to say because I mean, I go with like my whenever I answer that question, I always go with my main one. It's usually the story that I've told about my experience that I had with my dad when I was like young. I don't know exactly. I think I always say like around like 9-ish, but I don't know exactly. But I always go with that because it's like my biggest experience. It was with someone else, so it's more validated in that sense. But the house I grew up in, just like small minor things, just knew it was haunted at that point. I knew what spirits were, and I was scared of them, but it wasn't anything crazy like The Conjuring, right? But when I was very little, like before like I was a child, like 4-ish, um, right when my memories started coming into fruition, I started knowing about spirits. I knew about ghosts. I didn't really know what they were. I just knew that they were around me, um, and that they were there and they were present. No one had to tell me what they were. I just knew. And it's not like I was out here as a 4-year-old watching ghost stories and ghost movies and all this stuff. I was just like a regular kid that watched Rugrats, whatever. But at the same time, I knew these spirits were around because they were around me, and I knew that they were dead people. That was kind of and that house wasn't even haunted, at least not that I know of. I was too young to really recognize if it was a haunted house. It felt more like spirits just kind of coming and going now. And that's kind of how I like to describe my introduction into the paranormal. It doesn't really help a whole lot, especially for people who are skeptics or don't believe, because it's like, okay, like, so you're a very imaginative child. I was. I was also a very imaginative child, but I don't know. I maybe I'm also just really smart, and that's we can also go with that. I love that. Oh, my dog is barking. Is it at the ghost or is it at the neighbor? We might never know. Um, what else was I gonna say? The dog barking is distracting my brain. um, yeah, I'm trying to think what else I could. Okay, so sorry guys. Obi. Okay, he stopped. He stopped. Okay, to for those of you who might not, if you are watching this right now and you've heard me tell this story before, it will be a recap for you, and then I kind of have something else to add on to it. Obi says, "Mom, I'm seeing things." LOL. Honestly, yeah, Obi. Fun fact: this wasn't a child experience. This was like a few years ago, when I lived in my last apartment with my husband, and Opie would just bark at like the wall randomly. And the thing that's different where we live now is like we're in a house now, so we have windows on both sides of the house, 2 stories, so there's windows everywhere. So Opie will see people walk by, he'll see the neighbors go into their house and all this stuff, and so he starts barking at them. So that makes sense. What in our last place, we lived in a basement apartment, and it wasn't a walkout basement. It was like there was like a side door. You walk down the stairs into our and then unlock the door to your unit. Um, the windows that we had in that place, one was underneath the deck, which wasn't that helpful, but it was there. So it's not like you could see anything to bark at there. And then the other window was facing the side of the neighboring house. And very rarely would anyone walk by because there wasn't the entrance to that neighbor's house wasn't on that side. And they'd only really walk by if they were doing like mowing of the lawn or anything like that. But in the wintertime, never. So like it was very rare for Obi to bark in our last place. Now it's a little bit more common because he sees a lot more going on outside. But yeah, he does one on the show. Should I bring him in? I have two dogs, and the little one always stares at the wall. Too creepy as heck. There's something about it. Like my cats sometimes, specifically in my last apartment, they would act weird. But it was mostly Obi. But my cats, when I lived at my childhood home that I was just saying was haunted, like I said, scared of the basement, didn't love being in the basement. They would stare at walls. It was really weird. One sec, I'm gonna let Obi in. Obi. Obi. Come. Come. Wanna come in? Wanna go on the couch? Good boy. You say hi to everyone. You go and say hi. You go and say hi. Oh my goodness. Hello. Say hello. You want it to be on the show? Say hi to Obi. We call him Obi. His name is Obito. If there's any Naruto fans, like the character Obito. You know what's actually funny? So my husband loves Naruto. Naruto? That show. My husband loves that show. And when we got Obi, we were brainstorming names for him. And this is not paranormal related at all, but we have the new star of the show on here now, so we will talk about it. He is, how old are you? I have to do math. You are 4, almost 4.5. He's a good boy. We got him as a puppy, and yeah, we were thinking of names for him, and my husband started going through like a list of names from Naruto, and I was fine with it. He was just rattling them off, and I was trying to see which ones caught the vibe. He said Obito, and I liked it. I was like, wait, that suits him. You're an Obito. You're an Obi. And so we went with Obito. And so we named him that, whatever. We have him. I think it was like a year into us having him. And at this point, like, I have my Haunting the Krista page. I'm a paranormal investigator, all this stuff. Because we got him in October of 2021. Haunting the Krista became a thing at the end of 2021. So, oh my God, you were like at the start of my Haunting the Krista career, huh? And what was I going to say? Oh yeah, so someone reached out to me like a year after. It was like an old classmate of mine, and she was from Brazil. I think it is. They speak Portuguese there, right? And she was saying how in Portuguese, obito means death, I think. And so she thought I named Obito Obito because of like Haunting the Krista, paranormal, spooky death. Hold on, let me just verify that that's what that means. I think it does. Obito in Portuguese. Translation to English. Death, literally. So fun fact. Was not named after death, but he is very on brand for me. Yeah, he is just a baby. Now he's waiting at the door. You wanted to come in, you were barking. You made your appearance and now you're at the door. You want to go again? Jeez, he's such a diva. Dakota is 12. She is a husky shepherd. Ooh. And Ollie is Chi-Chi's 9. Aww. Those are beautiful dogs. Oh, I don't see what they look like, but just knowing what their breed is so cute. I know he is the best boy. Come here, Obi. Instead of crying, do you want to come up here? No, you want to keep crying. You want to go to the door. He has to wear his coats. Aww. I mean, I try to put sweaters and stuff on Obi when we go for walks, specifically in winter. He's not a huge fan. He's very picky. And I swear to God, he's a human. Like, the way he acts and stuff, like, and the way he looks at you, too. He's just like, there's just like a thought behind those eyes. Sometimes there's no thoughts behind those eyes. at all. But yeah, so he's definitely seen some things. Actually, so over there, that door, if you guys recall, that's the entrance to our attic. And that is where I've had a sense that if there's anything haunting this house, it's coming from the attic. And there was paranormal experiences that I had, well, a paranormal experience that I had a month ago with that attic, and I heard a knock, like 5 or 6 like clear knocks when I was on stream for my true crime show, and it was heard through the stream. And there's obviously no one in there. It's an attic. There's 2 of us that live here, and I don't usually have Obi or any of our pets in here. My husband's always downstairs when I stream, so it just made no sense. And because I felt like that attic was haunted, I chalked it up to it being haunted. Why was I sharing this? Oh, the I have a husky that won't come inside. Oh, I mean, especially in this weather, I understand. um, so the other day I've been like doing some winter cleaning, spring cleaning, New Year's cleaning, I guess is the better phrase for this time of the year. I was doing some cleaning and I was putting some stuff in like storage boxes and stuff to put them in the attic, and I never really let Obi or especially not the cats go up there because there's like insulation and stuff. There's no need for them to be there. But I had Obi in this room with me. And so I was bringing some boxes in, and he was just standing in front of this door, staring straight. Like he did not want to come into that space at all. He was not vibing with it. Like he was scoping. Usually he's very curious. Like he likes to scope things out. He sniffs around, he goes up to things and sees what it's all about. He was not interested in going in that attic, which proves to me even further that there is something in that attic that he can see that I can't see. I shall share my pups in your Instagram. Oh, yes, please do. I'd love to see your pups. um, so yeah, that's just more of the lore behind my haunted attic. And like I said before, I will definitely do a stream inside there, and I will break out some of my ghost hunting equipment, and we'll spend one of these live streams doing some paranormal investigating in my attic. So, honestly, we could even do something. Hold on, we have got some more time on this stream right now. Let me break out something. Should we do a little bit of ghost hunting right here, right now? I think we should. Break out the spirit box. Where? Oh, duh. My spirit box isn't in there. I was just using it. 1 second, guys. Okay. I got it. We're going to do a little spirit box session to wrap up tonight's Haunting Hours stream. And see if anything wants to come through and talk with us. Hello? Want to show your face again? No? Okay. You guys got a little corner of it. His little nose. What's this? Is this a spirit box? Are we going to talk to some ghosties? See what's in our attic? This looks like I'm talking to nothing. Okay. Also, if you guys want to know, this is the PSB 11 spirit box. Okay. Let's see. So if there's anything here in our house that wants to come forth and speak with us, we would love to hear from you. Let's do FM. Hold on. There we go. FM's where it's at. Is there anything here with us? Is anything in the attic? here with us, can you tell us your name? Why are you here? Is there anything you want to share with us? Do you want to change the temperature? You can make it cold in here, or you can make it warm in here. This device will pick that up. Can you tell me why you're here? Obi's just staring. What is this? My name's Krista. Why are you in my house? Was that you who knocked on my attic door? Can you knock for us again? Did you guys hear anything? It was hard for me to make out anything. I hear stuff coming through. I might have to watch this back and see if I could figure out what was being said. Let's also... Where's my necrometer? Break out the phone app. And I know this isn't everyone's fave. I don't know what's going on with my spirit talker. This is the necrometer. So it will pop up and say words. If there's anything here and wants to talk to us.
Dead bodies.
Dead bodies. That was pretty instantaneous too. Dead bodies where?
By the fireplace.
By the fireplace? I'm just going to hold it up like this.
Teacup.
Tika? Does anyone know what that means? T-H-E-C-A? We don't have a fireplace. Now, this house is split into two. We rent the back unit, which is like 2 stories, and then there's the front unit, and that's 1 story. The layout of this house is strange. So I don't know if they have a fireplace. Maybe I should ask. It was weird how that was like a pretty instantaneous response, though. I also would still like to know hold on. Google's
Oppression harms.
Oppression harms. What is Thika? What does that mean? The loose sheath enclosing the spinal cord. What? Okay. I was not expecting that. Oh, Thika's
Tell me what's happening.
Tell me what's happening. We are trying to make communication.
A powerful symbol.
A powerful symbol. Thika is a Latin word for a casing or sheath. Okay, so wait, it's not spinal cord related? Is there a fire pit? No, we were gonna add one in the summer though. In the backyard. I'm trying to think. The basement's also really creepy. There's like a wall. This is gonna I'm like picturing the basement right now. It's unfinished, but That's where our laundry room is. And there's a wall with handprints, but they're like painted handprints. So I think the landlord, like, that lived here before, or like whatever, I don't know how it worked, but there's like a wall of like kids' handprints on in the basement. Very creepy. Um,
Milestones.
Milestones, like the restaurant, they got a good peach Bellini.
Sniper rifle.
Sniper rifle. What is this? What does this mean? Usually, okay, so the whole reason I broke this out is it's clearer than the spirit box for one. Um, at least like instantaneously, because there might have been some good messages with the spirit box. I'll just have to listen back on the replay of this. But I like certain phone apps because they have proven to be pretty accurate. There it was weird how there's been some pretty responsive things to what I'm saying right now with this, but a lot of the things that are being said I don't really understand. And usually my experience with Necrometer or Spirit Talker has been like pretty accurate. Like I get what it's saying. When I used Spirit Talker for the first time, it was at Blue Ghost Tunnel and it told me the two names of the people that passed away there, Charles and Abraham, which was crazy. Charles, I'm like, okay, common name. Abraham, what do you mean? What? So Spirit Talker sold me ever since then. That was the first time I used it, and I've used it ever since. Though ever since I got this new phone, I downloaded Spirit Talker, and it wants me to. And it's been weird. It hasn't been working. Necrometer has been though. Oh, are the handprints milestones? I might have to take you guys down there one day and show you guys. Um, but we share the basement because it's the laundry room, so we share it with the other tenants. So I have to sneak down and show you guys in case they're down there, but they're not usually because it's not a finished basement. Um, and it's been quiet now. It said quite a few things ever since Sniper Rifle. It hasn't said anything. Um, Fun fact. Okay, I don't. Okay, I need to be careful what I say here because I obviously don't want people to know where I live. But the reason I was, besides the fact that I could feel the vibes in here when I toured this place, when I toured this place before I even signed for the leasing agreement, I I knew that there was some sort of energy specifically from that attic, and I didn't care. I was like, heck yeah, sign me up. So, um, aside from feeling the energy here, the area that I live in, um, there's a lot of history. There's a lot of history, and I can't say too much without doxing myself, but there's a lot of history and there's some prominent, historic places around me is what I'll say, which is vague, but it is important to, like, okay, when I walked in here and I was like, "It feels like this place might be haunted." This is still not said anything. But also I'm not talking to it. Would you like me to speak to you? I used Spirit Talker at a haunted house, and the Spirit Talker used Latin words due to it being a French area. See, again, it's things like that with the Spirit Talker that, like, I'll never understand. Sometimes Spirit Talker comes out with some random things, kinda like there's a few random things on here too, at least it seems random.
Disappointed.
Disappointed? Are you disappointed with my lack of paying attention to you? I'm sorry.
Beer.
Beer? Do you want a beer? I don't think I have any right now. We got some coolers. I got some wine. Do you want to what? Does that work for you? um, but yeah, my experience with Spirit Talker and Necrometer has been pretty like spot on. We use Necrometer at an investigation I have coming up on this. I think I'm hoping next week. I have to talk. It's a collab, so I'm going to talk to Erica, and we're going to organize one. We're going to post it, but it will be up soon. We investigated the Milton Town Hall and we used Necrometer, and it was spitting out some really specific things to the Milton Town Hall, and like not even just with history. William, is your name William? It was spitting out some specific things, not just about the history of the town hall, but w things about it
I
presently.
don't understand.
That's okay, I'm kind of talking to the audience at the moment, so you don't have to understand exactly
Hidden
what's
knowledge.
hidden knowledge. Yeah, hidden knowledge. Exactly. There was, like, hidden knowledge of, like, things about the Milton Town Hall currently that don't really relate to the history, but it made sense. You'll see when the video comes out, when the investigation comes out. Uh, but we used the necrometer and it was stunning us with some responses. So I don't know. I those are the two phone apps that I use.
Coco.
Coco. Honestly, it really is. I don't know, also the voice, Spirit Talker sounds like a Siri voice, like, very normal. This sounds really creepy. But they both, like, work the same way, and they're meant to the reason I like these is they're meant to work like Ovilus is, and Ovuluses are not only hard to find, but they are extremely expensive, and they're just like a not spiritual, paranormal device that, has, like, a word bank, and so you can use them in haunted places, so it's the same kinda thing. Have you ever talked to the spirit of a relative that has passed? Have I? I f I feel like I must have. Off the top of my head, I can't remember, but it's very possible, um, but nothing significant enough to be like, "Oh, yeah, 100%." I would love to, um, but so far though I haven't really asked for my loved ones to come forth, to be honest. Like, I don't usually do things like this in my own house. Like, I'll just go to a haunted place and um I don't have anyone named William or Coco in my family though. So those think are significant to either this house or the area. Coco is a very uncommon name. William is definitely more common though. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself? Who is Coco? Sounds like a dog. Is there anything else that you wanna share with us? Do you wanna tell us why you're here? I know at the very beginning of this, you said dead bodies, and they're by the fireplace. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? I used to sense things at my house, but since my mom passed, it's absolutely quiet. Interesting. I wonder why that is. Could be like an energy thing, like, oh, what's it called? The best thing I can relate it to is, like, when I
Murder location.
murder location. Did I just ask something that had to do with, like did I ask
I need your help.
you need my help? What do you need my help with? I think I just asked something that kinda made sense to murder location. I'm brain farting. It's late. It's been a long day. Um, what can I help you with? What do you need my help with? Can you tell me in this device? Bottom line, what I was gonna say is it might be like an energy, thing, like, uh, sometimes, like, when there's rifts, I guess, in the dimensions, like spiritual realms, I'm trying to figure out a way to phrase it. It could make it a temporary halt in paranormal activity before it ramps up again. I feel the spirit of my dad was waiting for mom and they are gone. Could be that too. That makes sense. That makes more sense than what I just said. 100%. I believe that. You haven't told me what you need help with. Can you tell me? We're gonna wrap up this stream soon. If you'd like, I'm gonna do a live stream in the attic one of these days soon, and you can communicate with me in the attic and tell me everything you want to tell me, but I'd love it if you would give me a little bit more insight about what you need help with. Maybe I can bring someone back to help. Are you still here? Sometimes, especially with live stream, this is usually why I don't live stream paranormal investigations because sometimes it's just a waiting game. um, oh, another time I used Spirit Talker was one of my very first paranormal team investigations, and I whatchamacallit, I was using Spirit Talker, and we were at the Beck House in Penetanguishene, which is an Airbnb that you can rent out and paranormal investigate at. It was really, really cool. And one of, if not the very first thing it said was Carl, is the Carl Beck House. That was crazy. So again, it's just like so specific. Um, you'll see a little bit more about what I mean with Necrometer because it's kind of a newer app that I've been using specifically since my Spirit Talker is randomly not working lately. Um, but with my investigation at the Milton Town Hall, there were some very specific things that has really solidified Necrometer's validity up there with Spirit Talker. But I like to use these apps on investigations with other pieces of equipment. So the REM pods, the cat balls, thermal imager, Ouija board, spirit box, Estes. Use everything in conjunction with one another, so it's not just like I'm relying on
Timeless growth.
Timeless Grove. That would be awesome. What is your favorite paranormal device? Huh.
River.
River. We are close to a river. One. We are close to a river. We're close to a haunted river, actually.
Likely.
Very likely. My favorite paranormal device. I honestly I love a REM pod. I will always use a REM pod. I think when they work, they're super cool. They don't always work, which I think just like ups their validity. Um, but I love the fact that it not only detects proximity but also temperature changes. I think that's really cool. Um, so I love a REM pod and I love doing Estes. So in part, I guess Spirit Box would be my favorite as well. But specifically, I like doing Estes because um, it I can hear the words better through the static when I'm
Doubt.
when I'm under Estes and I have the headphones on, I can hear better. So it's easier to make out messages. I also like how when someone's asking a question, if I'm answering directly, like I can't hear what they're saying. So it's less debunkable. Um, so I really like that. Those would be my favorites. My least favorite paranormal device, honestly, probably a Ouija board, but not because they're evil or anything like that. Just because I just feel like there's better methods of communication. I'll use them, but
7:30.
it's 8:13. But what happened to you at 7:30? um, but yeah, so is there any final messages that you want to share? Again, we will talk to you again soon in the attic. Jalen. Affair. Was there an affair with Jalen? With that information, we will take. Well, everyone try to remember this. It's going to be on live, so we'll be able to go back and check anyways. But when we do the investigation in the attic, we can see if anything lines up with anything we just learned here tonight as like this little mini investigation. But yeah, with that, I will turn this guy off. Thank you for communicating with us. And yeah, of course. Thank you guys for having a little bit of spooky fun with me on this impromptu paranormal investigation. I know we started off with talking about haunted experiences from children. I like how this live stream kind of like morphs, and it like starts off as one thing, and then we just kind of have fun and we just stay spooky and we do whatever we want to do here. I love that. Of course. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Mary. I really appreciate you guys being here. Thank you for everyone. If you haven't liked the stream, make sure you give it a like for me. Tonight's stories, honestly, what made them so disturbing isn't just what the kids saw, what we were talking about earlier. It's just like how casually they said it. There was almost no real fear. There was a couple kids who seemed a bit scared, like the girl who ran out of the room saying, "That's the man in my room." I get that fear. That is scary. But other than that, there was no real fear, no hesitation. It was just quiet certainty from these children, like they were describing something completely normal, even though it's not. I don't know, maybe kids really are more open to whatever exists beyond what we can see, and maybe they remember things we've forgotten. Or maybe they're just noticing things we're training ourselves to ignore. A lot of parents say their children stop talking about these people or these places as they get older. The questions stop, the names are forgotten, but the adults never forget what they heard. So tonight, when your house is quiet and you hear a sound that you can't explain, or you catch a shadow where there shouldn't be one, just remember, kids don't usually imagine things out of nowhere. So I do want to thank you all for spending. Obi says thank you. He's currently by my feet lying down. He's a sleepy boy. Yes, you. He just turned around and looked at me, gave me the biggest side eye. They have not fear. Probably looks like real people. Honestly, I feel like a lot of them do see spirits as real people. Have a great night, Melissa. Thank you guys. Remember, every single Monday and Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, we go live on this channel. If you joined in late, if you are going to miss stream, every single stream is available on my live tab on my channel for rewatch. So you can hang out even after the fact. You can comment in the comment section, letting me know what your thoughts and opinions are about each stream. Make sure you like this video, comment, give Obi a hug, and thank you, Krista. Of course I will. Yes, you want a hug already? Come here. He was whining. But yeah, thank you guys all for spending your evening with me as always, and I will see you guys in my next stream on Monday at 7 p.m. There is a new video out this week. We talked about 5 horror stories, but paranormal experiences from night shift workers. So if you want to hear those stories, that video is up on my channel. And because besides doing 2 weekly live streams, we do twice weekly live streams. So we English, we do 1 video a week as well. And next week will be a paranormal investigation video. Hopefully, just verify. I have to do some double checking with my collab partner and see if she's ready to post hers next week. So hopefully it's posted next week. If not, there will definitely be one after that. There's 3 paranormal investigations coming up. We got Milton Town Hall, we have Fort Willow, and Walper Hotel. So there are some paranormal investigations coming up that have been filmed. They're just in the editing process. They have to be put up. So those are coming. There will also be other videos like the one from this week coming as well. I also have some investigations planned for the near future, so you guys will be getting those soon too. And yeah, so make sure you are subscribed basically if you are not yet, and turn on your post notification bell so you can get notified every single time that I post. I'm sorry if you're hearing my dog whine. He wants cuddles, so I should go attend to that. Obi says, "Come on, Mom, let's get it done." I know. He's like, "Hello." He put his head down. I'm like, I gotta go and give this boy attention and love because he is fiending it. So I twist my rubber arm, I guess. That I can do. I will talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much for joining, and make sure you're subscribed. I'll see you guys in my next stream and my next video. Bye, everyone. Have a good night.